Open the Metropolitan Planning Commission meeting for February 12th and call it to order. And commissioners, thank you for coming today and all of the public. We really appreciate it. And so let's go ahead and get started. And the first item up for business is item B, which is the adoption of the agenda. And commissioners, that was sent out earlier. Is there a motion to adopt? There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? No discussion. Seeing no discussion, all in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and the agenda is adopted. Next is item C, which is the approval of the January 8th, 2025 minutes. And commissioners, those were also sent out earlier to you. And so is there a motion to approve? There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and minutes, January 8th minutes are adopted. Next is item D, which is our public comment period. And this is a new rule still. And so, Lisa, why don't you just update the audience on this particular rule? And we do have a few folks signed up.
Sure. So state law requires that before any meeting of a public body that there is a time for people to be able to address items that are on the agenda. Most of the items that come before the Planning Commission have a Planning Commission rule required public hearing. And so people have the opportunity to speak at that time. However, there are occasionally items that are on your agenda that do not have a required public hearing, or there are times when you may be considering items that have a closed public hearing where you have held it and it has been closed. And so this public comment time is set aside for people to speak on items with a public hearing that has been closed or where there's not an otherwise rule required public hearing.
Thank you. And so we have our sign-up sheet here. And so we have two folks who would like to speak on item number 3. And the first is Charles Wangather. And I think I probably butchered that, but welcome. And you have 2 minutes. It will set the timer for, thank you.
Yes, thank you. Charles Weingartner. My handwriting is poor, so that's my apologies. I'm here today to voice opposition to adopting the DTC for the East Bend neighborhood at this point in time. I feel like this is a premature action, and that realistically the public realm design document needs to be complete so that the community, Nashville, everyone has a sound understanding of what that neighborhood is truly going to look like. I know the DTC does determine a lot of what that area would be built as, but there's still a lot of concerns that I have with the public realm document. Specifically, it lacks explicit language that would enforce our modal hierarchy for pedestrians and cyclists, and a lot of the right-of-way drawings that are included in the document currently don't match NACDO guidelines, Vision Zero guidelines. I'm also our Vision Zero Advisory Committee chair. Overall, I just think that document needs to be ushered further to completion with sound principles that align with other committees, commissions, and bodies and guiding documents and principles that the city has founded. So again, at this time, I just think it's preemptive and too early for us to be passing the DTC for the East Bend neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you coming down. Next, I think it's Peter Robinson. Is that Peter Robinson? We'll have to say, and please write clearly. Sorry. Thank you.
If I got a weird spelling last name, I can't fix that at this point in my life. So there you go. I actually sit on the Vision Zero Advisory Committee with Charlie Weininger, who just spoke just now. I have previously spoken to the East Bank Development Authority about some of the issues. And as I look at number 3, which is obviously a neighborhood that's going to be going in near the East Bank, and sort of they go together, right? There's a lot of things in that plan that are very exciting. There's some opportunities for the pedestrian plazas and things like that. I like a lot of what I see. Part of our role in Vision Zero is we look at every single traffic fatality that happens in Nashville. And I'll tell you, doesn't take very long before you realize what sorts of roads are the roads where fatalities in Nashville occur. And by and large, they are our multi-lane, 4-lane and above, like some of our materials show, are roads that prioritize vehicle throughput and high vehicle speeds. When I look at a neighborhood like what is envisioned for the East Bend, it looks amazing. And it's a place where people should want to live and work and shop and play. And I think that's great. I don't look at that and see that where the goal should be for it to be just a way for somebody to get from one other place to another place and to zip through there. That shouldn't be the priority. Vehicle throughput is fairly toxic to anybody wanting to stay place. If I want to have a family, if I want to have my kids out, I would not probably prioritize a place that looks like a runway. And so if a 4-way, arterial road does not really knit together a neighborhood. It makes it more dangerous. What I don't want to have happen is I don't want the city to spend a lot of time and money and effort into building something that will just end up being on what we call our high injury network in the future. That's what I want to avoid. And so I haven't opposed it in my comment. I just want everybody to focus on making that as safe as possible so that people actually want to live there and spend the money there and make it successful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming down. And that wraps up our speakers for item D. And so commissioners, we'll go to item E, which is the recognition of the council members. And we take the council members as we see y'all come in. So Councilor Gadd, I saw you first. Welcome. Thanks for coming.
Thank you all for having me. Thank you, commissioners and staff, and to my colleague. Today I'm here, I've got 2 items in District 24, and so number 18 on your agenda as well as number 27 on your agenda. And I wanted to personally come and to speak in support of both of these items. The first item is located at 100 Kenner Avenue, and I wanted to say thank you to the applicant who is here today, as well as the neighbors who live in the on Kenner Avenue. We've been meeting with the Kenner Avenue Neighborhood Association regarding this opportunity to bring in what will essentially be a bagel shop, and they are incredibly excited about this. And the owner of the building is also a neighboring constituent, a neighboring district. And so we're really excited about that and some other things that he's going to do for improvements to that property. So wanted to say thank you to them publicly. Thank you to the Neighborhood Association for all the work they've done to have our meetings, as well as there will be another community engagement opportunity before we get to the second reading at council as well, so I can educate and engage the rest of the district. Just to let them know about that, as well as the second item. I've got neighbors here today who are the applicants, or I'm on behalf of them, the applicant for this rezone on a section of road on Roland Avenue. And we've been meeting for months, started last year, just to address certain specific issues for the hillside and the creek that's below these properties, to try to get some mitigation. We've really have found that this is the one way forward that everyone feels comfortable with. So we're excited about kind of being at this stage and step. And so I wanted to make sure I'm here to thank neighbors that who have worked hard for this particular application and this rezoning. And then we'll, of course, also have another larger community engagement. So with that, I'm way out of time, so thank you all so much.
You can have as much time as you want, Council Lady, just by the way. Thank you, Council Lady. Appreciate you coming down. Next, we saw Councilman Coupin. Welcome.
Don't tell me I have as much time as I want, because I will take it, and that's dangerous.
Well, that was for Councilor again.
Perfect. I'm just, for y'all's sake. But thank y'all for giving me some time. Good to see y'all as always. I'm here on the DTC subdistrict creation for East Bend, as well as the rezone. And really, there's kind of a third item, which is the public realm framework, which y'all have heard about from a couple of folks today. We had a great community meeting earlier in the week. Planning did a great job. Eric Hammer, shout out to him for doing a fantastic presentation on the Subdistrict and kind of what it is and what it's doing. And then the developer and ownership group presented on kind of what the rezoning was going to look like. And one of the top conversations was this public realm framework. I'm working to get a meeting together specifically on the public realm. My understanding is it's a policy document guiding the DTC DRC, and I've spoken to some of their members. So to me, I do think that's really important to get right. I think it runs parallel to these rezonings. I don't think it's mutually exclusive where it all kind of comes together. I think they can be considered separately, but it is something that I intend to move quickly as this rezoning is going through to understand the public's thoughts and concerns and positive reviews on the public realm framework. So I invite anybody that has questions or concerns to reach out to me. I'm working on a meeting to address those questions. I understand there's some changes planning's working on as well to address some of those. And then I'm working on a second community meeting on the 23rd. So for folks who want to come out to that, I'm trying to do it on the east side. And then I believe there may be a third meeting right after the public hearing. So we're really trying to make sure that there's good public engagement, that, again, members of the public can weigh in on this. Obviously, it's a transformational and generational site. So even though it's in one district, I want to make sure everybody has a voice. But really supportive of where we are. I think this is a great project. I think we're making really good progress, and it's going to be a huge benefit for Nashville. So I hope y'all support it today. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilman. Appreciate you coming down. Next, we saw Councilman Parker. Where's he at? There he is.
All right. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thanks for this opportunity to address y'all. A couple of items. First, y'all have gotten a lot of emails. I've gotten a lot of emails in the past few weeks about the Lincoln Tech SP amendment. So they're adding some new properties. There's a lot of exciting stuff about the amendment. It allows a realignment of a road that I think is going to be really key to making the site work well. There are a couple of sticking points with the community. The proposed hotel at the corner of Douglas and Gallatin, there's some consternation about that. I think the applicants have agreed to have another community meeting to kind of talk through that and hear more about people's concerns about that. And the other issue that's still kind of hanging out there is open space on the western portion of the property. The original plan had a little bit more open space, kind of transitioning from the larger buildings down into townhomes. The surrounding context is largely single family. The new revision, they're proposing to take that attached product and break it up into, they call it single family, I call it detached multifamily, but freestanding homes that use single family building codes. And I understand why folks like doing that. It's cheaper and easier to build. You can sell it for a little bit more, but this is not a subdivision. These are not like fee simple lots. These are multifamily units that would be detached. That's great. But what's happening there is we're kind of burning a lot of open space, like potential open space, by putting 400 square foot between each of these units where they used to be attached, and we were able to fit a little bit more open space in there. So, that's a big quality of life thing for folks, the open space. It's also kind of a very practical thing, if we're welcoming 1,000 new neighbors into a single family neighborhood. There's a lot of concerns that people's yards are going to become de facto dog parks. We don't choose where our pets decide to go when they do finally decide to go. And I think there's just, if we can find a few more pockets of open space on the western portion of the property, I think that would go a long way. And I believe that's recommended for deferral today. I think we might still be waiting on some departmental review, but I just wanted, been lots of emails.
Item 14.
Item 14, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I just wanted to give you all kind of an update of what I'm hearing and seeing out there. Also wanted to comment on the East Bend. I've been following that. I had some concerns about the public realm framework document, some of the cross sections in there, specifically the minor streets, where we're kind of building new door lanes, which, for those that don't know, that's where if you're riding a bicycle, you're liable to have a door open and catch you as you're riding. On-street parking is an interesting allocation of public right-of-way between 40-story buildings. So I'm hoping that, all the loading and whatnot is going to be required to be integrated with these buildings, and we're not going to be using very, very, very scarce and limited on-street parking in this area to do those activities. I'm hoping that those get kind of taken care of. Interior to the buildings, I'm also not super clear on how the that document, the framework document, actually governs what's constructed, and maybe people in this room are more clear on that. So I would ask, when we're looking at things like our modal hierarchy, we're looking at things like safe streets, if we need to be redundant and include some of that stuff in the zoning as well as the public framework document, just to cover more bases and to be sure, or if there's any other kinds of checks or redundancies that we can do about that that safe streets, that modal hierarchy for the site. I think it's better to over-egg that omelet than to find ourselves with a negative outcome there. But anyway, thank you all very much for the time, and it's always good to see you.
Thank you, Councilman. And next up was Councilmember Cap. Come on up. Welcome.
Afternoon, and thank you all. I'm here on the East Bend Subdistrict as well. I want to echo largely what Councilmember Parker said, and I just want to add, as you all are well aware, this is a once-in-a-century opportunity. Certainly, this East Bank is not from scratch, but it's about as close as you can ever get in the middle of a major city. And when considering the public realm framework, it's, to me, critical that when we're building these types of things, that we're building them in such a way that is in line with the values that we've all set in terms of street safety and multimodality. It's a lot easier to build it that way before the buildings go in than it is to retrofit it afterward. And so I'm not entirely clear either on where the public realm framework sits within what's before y'all today. I know it was attached as an exhibit at the last meeting. I'm less clear on where that is today, but I would urge y'all to consider that. It's public space. It's owned by the city. So I think it's certainly germane to this commission to look at. And I would just urge how critical it is, in my view, to build appropriate, safe, accessible streets now, and to require them now rather than try to retrofit them later. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Councilman. And I didn't see any other council members. Director, did you see any other? All right, seeing no other council members, we are on item F, and that is items for deferral withdrawal. Go ahead.
All right, our items for deferral or withdrawal tonight are, starting on page 4 of your agenda, item number 2, 2025Z017TX001, data exclusion overlay. Staff recommendation is to withdraw. Item number 7, 2011 NL002-003, 209 Dania Crest Drive amendment. Staff recommendation is to defer indefinitely. On page 5 of your agenda, item number 8, 2025 S145001, re-subdivision of part of Lot 40, Plan of Clifton. Staff recommendation is to defer to the February 26th meeting. Item number 10, 2025 S200001, 4319 Saundersville Road. Staff recommendation is to defer indefinitely. Item number 11, 2025 Z104PR001. Staff recommendation is to defer to the March 12th meeting. Item number 12, 2025 Z109PR001. Staff recommendation is to defer to the February 26th meeting. On page 6 of your agenda, item number 14, 2022 SP075002, Lincoln Tech SP amendment. Staff recommendation is to defer to the March 12th meeting. Item number 15, 2025 SP048001, New Hope Gardens SP. Staff recommendation is to defer to the February 26th meeting. Item number 16, 2026 SP002001, 3033, 3221, and 3255 Melvin Road. Staff recommendation is to defer to the February 26th meeting. On page 7 of your agenda, item number 20, 2026 S016001, Jenkins Landing subdivision. Staff recommendation is to defer to the February 26th meeting. Item number 22, 15473P002, Hermitage Woods Amendment. Staff recommendation is to defer to the February 26th meeting. And on page 8 of your agenda, item number 24A, 95P004003, Allen Estates PUD cancellation. Staff recommendation is to defer to the February 26th meeting. And item 24B, 2026Z014PR001, staff recommendation is to defer to the February 26th meeting. And that concludes the items for deferral or withdrawal.
Thank you, Matt. So commissioners, and Matt, make sure I get these correct. So these are the following items for deferral withdrawal. Items number 2, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 14, 15, 16, 20, 22, 24A, and 24B. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right, commissioners, you've heard the items for deferral withdrawal. Is there a motion?
I have a legal question if we might. I'm allowed to ask a question here?
Yes.
I have a question for our legal counsel, specifically on item number 2. This item's already been introduced to council as BL 2026-1146. Would withdrawal of the item here still allow it to continue in council unless the council member withdraws, or does it stop the bill from moving forward?
Let me check and see how long it's been pending before the planning commission. It looks like it's been pending for more than 30 days, so it could move forward at council, even if it was withdrawn here.
I'd like to keep this item on the agenda if we can, please.
Yeah, we can do that. Is that what you, so the motion would be to put the item back on the agenda?
Would it be to so are you recommending that we hear it? Because I don't know that staff have prepared any analysis, or would it be to defer it until after the council, the point at which the council would determine to withdraw?
Deferral would work.
Okay. Could
I'd
I
like-
get some guidance on the date that would happen, so I might make a recommendation?
It looks like this is up at council on the March 3rd agenda.
Like a 1-month deferral would be sufficient?
Okay, so March 3rd, so defer to the March 12th Planning Commission meeting. Ms. Milligan, do you see any concerns with that? Does that work?
Yeah, I'd like to move to, sorry, which date did we just say?
Excuse me, March 12th Planning Commission
Okay.
meeting.
Do I do that
Yes,
now?
if you could just say that.
Okay, I'd like to move to defer to the March 12th Planning Commission meeting, please.
That's a proper motion. Is there a second? Second? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of deferral, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Ayes have it. It's deferred. Thank you, Councilman. Appreciate that. Any other discussion before we vote on the deferred items? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and all those items that I stated before are deferred or withdrawn. Next, we're on item G, which is the consent agenda. Go ahead, Matt.
Okay, our items for consent agenda tonight. Items noted on tentative on consent will be read aloud at the beginning of the meeting to determine if there is opposition present. If there is opposition present, please raise your hand and the item will be taken off the tentative consent agenda and placed on the agenda to be heard in the order in which they are listed on the agenda. If no opposition is present, the item will be placed on the consent agenda. As noticed to the public, items on the consent agenda will be voted on at a single time. No individual public hearing will be held, nor will the commission debate these items unless a member of the audience or the commission requests that the item be removed from the consent agenda. Starting on page 3 of your agenda, item number 1, 2025Z016TX001, sign ordinance update. Is there anyone here in opposition to this item? This item will be on the consent agenda. On page 4 of your agenda, item number 5, 2025 SP 027002, Living Word Community SP Amendment. Is there anyone here in opposition to this item? This item will be on the consent agenda. Item number 6, 2025 SP 054001, 1027 Wade Avenue. Is there anyone here in opposition to this item? This item will be on the consent agenda. On page 5 of your agenda, item number 9, 2025 S183001, Stevens Valley Phase 1. Is there anyone here in opposition to this item? This item will be on the consent agenda. On page 6 of your agenda, item number 13, 2026 Z007PR001. Is there anyone here in opposition to this item? This item will be on the consent agenda. Item number 17, 2026 SP003001, Augustus Park SP. Is there anyone here in opposition to this item? This item will be on the agenda to be heard. On page 7 of your agenda, item number 18, 2026 SP006001, 100 Kenner Avenue. Is there anyone here in opposition to this item? This item will be on the consent agenda. Item number 19, 2025 S059001, Kelly Glenn. Is there anyone here in opposition to this item? This item will be on the consent agenda. Item number 21, 2026 S028001, Davis property. Is there anyone here in opposition to this item? This item will be on the consent agenda. On page 8 of your agenda, item number 23, 4683P007, Runway Motel Revision and Final. Is there anyone here in opposition to this item? This item will be on the consent agenda. Item number 25, 2017 UD 005012, River North UDO Amendment, Subdistrict 3. Is there anyone here in opposition to this item? This item will be on the consent agenda. Item number 26, 2026 Z002PR001. Is there anyone here in opposition to this item? This item will be on the consent agenda. On page 9 of your agenda, item number 27, 2026 Z005PR001. Is there anyone here in opposition to this item? This item will be on the consent agenda. Item number 28, 2026 Z010PR001. Is there anyone here in opposition to this item? This item will be on the consent agenda. Item number 29, 2026 Z011PR001. Is there anyone here in opposition to this item? This item will be on the consent agenda. Item number 30, 2026 Z013PR001. Is there anyone here in opposition to this item? This item will be on the consent agenda. I will now run through all the consent agenda items. As a legal notice, as information for our audience, if you are not satisfied with the decision made by the Planning Commission today, you may appeal the decision by petitioning for a writ of cert with the Davidson County Chancery or Circuit Court. Your appeal must be filed within 60 days of the date of the entry of the Planning Commission's decision. To ensure that your appeal is filed in a timely manner and that all procedural requirements have been met, please be advised that you should contact independent legal counsel. Starting on page 3 of your agenda, item number 1, 2025 Z016TX001, sign ordinance update. This is a request to amend chapters 17.04 and 17.32 of the Metropolitan Code of Laws to revise and add regulations on signs within the zoning code. Staff recommendation is to approve with the substitute ordinance. On page 4 of your agenda, item number 5, 2025 SP 027002, Living Word Community SP Amendment. This is a request to amend a specific plan for property located at 2304 Hobson Pike, zoned SP to permit a daycare center. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions and disapprove without all conditions. Item number 6, 2025 SP 054001, 1027 Wade Avenue. This is a request to rezone from R8 to SP zoning for property located at 1027 Wade Avenue to permit 4 multifamily residential units. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions and disapprove without all conditions. On page 5 of your agenda, item number 9, 2025 S183001, Stevens Valley Phase 1. This is a request for final plat approval to create 65 lots on a portion of property located at Pasqua Road, unnumbered, zoned SP. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions. On page 6 of your agenda, item number 13, 2026 Z007PR001. This is a request to rezone from IWD, ORI, and SP to MUL NS zoning for properties located at 911, 920, and 921 Perimeter Court. Staff recommendation is to approve. On page 7 of your agenda, item number 18, 2026 SP 006001, 100 Kenner Avenue. This is a request to rezone from OR20 to SP zoning for property located at 100 Kenner Avenue to permit a mixed-use development. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions and disapprove without all conditions. Item number 19, 2025 S059001, Kelly Glenn. This is a request for final plat approval to modify easements on properties located at 5476 Franklin Pike Circle. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions. Item number 21, 2026 S028001, Davis property. This is a request for final plat approval to create 2 lots on property located at 13390 Old Hickory Boulevard, zoned AR2A. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions, including variances to section 4-2.5 of the Metropolitan Subdivision Regulations. On page 8 of your agenda, item number 23, 4683P007, Runway Motel Revision and Final. This is a request to revise the preliminary plan and for final site plan approval for properties located at 1121 and 1125 Airport Center Drive within a planned unit development overlay district in Zone CS to permit a hotel. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions. Item number 25, 2017 UD 005012, River North UDO Amendment Subdistrict 3. This is a request to amend the River North Urban Design Overlay for various properties on Cowan Street, Cowan Court, and Waterside Drive, zoned MUIA to create a new Subdistrict 3. Staff recommendation is to approve with conditions. Item number 26, 2026 Z002PR001. This is a request to rezone from RS10 to R10 zoning for property located at 4465 Laverne Couchville Pike. Staff recommendation is to approve. On page 9 of your agenda, item number 27, 2026 Z005PR001. This is a request to rezone from R8 to RS10 for various properties located at along Roland Road. Staff recommendation is to approve. Item number 28, 2026 Z010PR001. This is a request to rezone from IWD to MUG and S zoning for property located at 50 Vantage Way. Staff recommendation is to approve. Item number 29, 2026 Z011PR001. This is a request to rezone from RS10 to RM20A and S for properties located at 3311, 3313, 3315A, 3317, and 3319 Walton Lane. Staff recommendation is to approve. Item number 30, 2026 Z013PR001. This is a request to rezone from RS5 to R6A zoning for property located at 2507 Mahari Boulevard. Staff recommendation is to approve. Under I, Other Business, item number 31, 2020 S145001, Bordeaux Agri-Hood Concept Plan Extension. Item number 32, confirmation of downtown partnership nominee Cal McDowell to DTC DRC. Item number 33, bonus height certification for 8th and Demumbrian Hotel. Item number 34, contract renewal for Swathies Varna. And item number 37, accept the director's report and approve administrative items. And that concludes the consent agenda.
Thank you, Matt. And so, commissioners, you've heard the items. We'll go through these again. These will be all the items we vote on at one time on the consent agenda. And those are the following. Items 1, 5, 6, 9, 13, 18, 19, 21, 23, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, and 37. Is that correct, Matt?
That is correct.
All right, commissioners, we have a discussion. Commissioner Dundon.
I just need to recuse myself from the vote on number 9, Stevens Valley, but otherwise I'll vote
All right,
on the rest of the
without
consent
objection,
agenda.
Commissioner Dundon recuse herself on item 9. Any other discussion? Seeing none. Oh, Commissioner Henley.
Yeah, I also have a recusal. Need to recuse on item, I believe it's number. Just the UDO amendment, I'm missing the number here. $25. I keep wanting to say 26. Item 25, Chair.
Item 25, all right. Commissioner Henley has to, on item 25.
We'll mark those down for the record that Commissioner Henley's recused on 25 and Commissioner Dundon is recused on item number 9.
Thank you, Bob. Perfect. Any other discussion? All right, seeing none. Well, first we need a motion to adopt it. Is there a motion to adopt the consent agenda? There's a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and the consent agenda is adopted. All right, and so now we are on to items to be considered, which on tonight, which are items number 3. We have 3 items to be considered, and that's items number 3, 4, and 17. And just a reminder to the commissioners, we have already, item number 3 is, we considered it and we closed the public hearing, just for clarification. All right, so item number 3. And before we get started, there are some folks here that may have not been to the Planning Commission before, but on the public hearings, if we haven't closed the public hearing, we do the presentation, then we open the public hearing. Applicant gets 8 minutes. They can save 2 minutes of the 8 minutes for a rebuttal. And then the council person, if they're here, and then we'll close the public hearing, and then that's when the commission will deliberate and vote. And so I just want to remind everybody of the process. Joni?
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Joni Williams, and I'm here to share with you the second presentation on the East Bend Subdistrict Text Amendment. The request is to amend Chapter 17 to establish a new subdistrict in the downtown code to be applied to the properties on the east bank shown on this map. This land is currently used for industrial purposes, which is not compatible with the Imagine East Bank vision or planning policy to create a vibrant, mixed-use neighborhood with public access to the river. On the screen, you can see an aerial view of the land today on the left and a drawing of the vision of this area on the right. The Downtown Code includes general standards to promote high-quality urban design, including permitted materials, permitted and restricted land uses, guidelines for outdoor spaces, street activation, loading and access, privately owned public spaces, and streetscapes. These standards apply to all areas zoned Downtown Code. The Downtown Code is comprised of 16 subdistricts, all together shown here in yellow on the screen, with the area before you today shown in orange. Each subdistrict has standards drafted specifically for its geographic area. Next, I will share with you the standards that are specific to this area, which we've called the East Bend. Well, first I'm going to talk about, I maybe have moved a slide or two, I apologize. First, I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the Downtown Code Design Review Committee. This is, in addition to its unique regulations, the Downtown Code has a unique process for the review of development proposals. The Downtown Code Design Review Committee meets monthly to review concept plans and provide design guidance and regulatory review. The committee has 8 members and is administered by the Metro Planning staff. The DRC members are appointed or nominated by the mayor, vice mayor, Planning Commission, Historic Zoning Commission, the Downtown Partnership, the Civic Design Center, the Urban Residents Association, and the Chamber of Commerce. Many of these members are required by the code to have a background in design and development in order to hold a position on the committee. The DRC serves a professional design review function and has a history of adopting design guidelines, including the Downtown Code Design Guidelines, and using those guidelines and any relevant planning studies and policies to make design decisions. They meet monthly with an agenda and staff report published in advance of the meeting and with a public hearing at the meeting. At the January 8th meeting, this item was presented for its first reading and public hearing. During the discussion, commissioners raised several questions regarding mobility, height entitlements, urban design, parks and open space, and environmental concerns. Following that meeting, a memo was sent to the commissioners clarifying how the standards for the proposed East Bend subdistrict compare or differ from those in the existing East Bank subdistrict. That memo was attached to your staff report today. In the subsequent weeks, staff has revised, added new standards and conditions, and inserted clarifying language to specifically address these concerns raised. I will share those revisions with you over the next few slides. The vision for this subdistrict is based on a predefined outdoor space network with 3 primary components: a pedestrian promenade, a linear park, and a 75-foot riverfront greenway that serve as pedestrian view corridors from the neighborhood to the river, orient development, and prioritize non-motorized connectivity. To strengthen the regulatory standards, key elements of our draft policies have been added to the East Bend subdistrict regulations. Standards such as build-to zone, tower orientation criteria to ensure light and porosity within these spaces, and a standard that developments respect the pedestrian view corridors to the river, provide orientation and connectivity to the river. Standards have been proposed to address two primary urban design objectives that were raised at the January 8th meeting. First is to develop a mechanism for a more nuanced review of riverfront development along major corridors or bridge landings, referred to here on the screen as river gateway sites. And then second, to ensure porosity and permeability and avoid walling off long-distance views and views along I-24 and the river. First, notice the property shown here in pink in the lower left-hand corner. This site, with frontage on the KVB Bridge, Davidson Street below, and the riverfront, is a highly visible site and a gateway to both East Nashville and downtown. Over the last few weeks, as staff has reviewed the proposal in light of the commissioner's questions, we found that an additional review of key waterfront sites would be valuable. And here we are proposing a new type of design review. We have dubbed this River Gateway, and you can see the site shown here in pink, which would be the only site in this subdistrict to be eligible for River Gateway considerations. The proposal before you would allow 24 stories by right, with the option to allow taller structures through this new process. The design review would be according to criteria adopted by this body and provide direction to the Downtown Code Design Review Committee as they consider development proposals on this site in particular. One of the conditions of approval is for the staff to amend planning policy with design guidance specifically for riverfront sites at major bridges or arterial roads, including how parcels shall appropriately address the significant street frontages, the river, the ground plane, viaducts, access, and the public realm through site design, height, orientation, massing, materiality, and other urban design conditions. Staff has proposed to have that content to you prior to the third reading of this zone change request and text amendment. You will recall that the commissioners also had questions related to porosity and permeability, specifically to avoid walling off long distance views and views along I-24 and along the river. On this slide, you see a summary of the standards that have been added or adjusted in light of the questions from this commission. These include specifically content related to towers and their relationship to each other and orientation, and also building scale and grain detail at the ground level. In addition to building regulations, the Downtown Code regulates land use. The permitted land uses are consistent with Imagine East Bank policy to enable a mixed-use urban neighborhood with specific conditions for the east side of the river related to conditions for bar and nightclub uses, restrictions on automobile-oriented uses, and a prohibition on short-term rentals. I'd like to review the three conditions before you as staff has proposed. First, an amendment to the major and collector street plan, where planning staff will coordinate with NDOT, EBDA, Metro Water Services, and applicable property owners on a major and collector street plan amendment to establish a proposed urban street grid for the area that prioritizes Vision Zero's safety objectives and enables the fulfillment of planned utility infrastructure, including stormwater and sewer. Second, staff will provide a public realm framework to the Downtown Code Design Review Committee. This is consistent with the DRC's practice of using guidelines to inform its work. And third, the staff will bring this commission recommendations for design guidance on riverfront sites. And with that, those three conditions, staff recommends approval.
Thank you, and really appreciate that. I know that I want to say, well, I'll save my comments to the very end. So This item is not, we've already closed the public hearing, and so now we're on to deliberation. So Vice Chair, do you want to start us off?
Yeah. I think in the letter that we received from the applicant, they mentioned some exhibits that they had planned to bring us. I don't know if that was something discussed. I thought I read in the letter that there were some exhibits with pictures of like the parcel, whatever this parcel number is that's in question. The letter that we got from Mr. Sloan.
Well, Vice Chair, if we do that, then we're really kind of
Opening
having a
up the
public
hearing.
hearing, and
Okay.
so,
we
Staff, did
can't-
you receive any exhibits to show today? We're not.
Maybe
aware.
I misread
Okay.
that. All right, it would help to kind of have a little bit of in my head, an image of that, building on that one particular parcel. Overall, I think that you guys have done a really nice job of integrating all of the comments and questions that we had at the last meeting. I personally feel a lot more comfortable with this than I did a month ago. It is a massive change to this, this portion of East Nashville. As I drove down Davidson and Second and tried to picture 40-story buildings on either side, it's going to take some getting used to. But I do think that, we've accomplished, you've managed to accomplish a fair amount of change that seems to address the issues that we were concerned about. I wasn't totally familiar with the public realm framework, but I think after reading this all, I understand it a little bit better. The one question I had, and this I guess relates to some of the things that were brought up about the Vision Zero framework, and the fact that we have introduced a condition for that. Does that condition change anything about the street grid that's in this plan as we look at it today? Because it's saying that we would review some things. So are there likely to be changes to the street grid based on trying to accommodate those standards? It wasn't clear how this relates to one another.
Can you go back to the previous slide? I'll take a stab at this, Joni, and then if you want to jump in. Planning happens at all different scales, I think, and needs to continue to be worked, if you will. And zoning is something of a blunt instrument and can be limited even with all of the design-based work that the downtown code allows for, which creates a lot of great opportunities. And we feel like with a bottom-up neighborhood, there's a more nuanced work that needs to happen. And so the purpose of the public realm framework plan was really to make sure that we were really thoughtfully integrating design standards into our work. And we've worked with the Downtown Review Committee over the last several years to really start to establish that as a more formal practice. And so the public realm framework isn't ready for prime time yet. It's something that we need to work on, and you're giving us direction to do that. The real work of establishing the street standards is the major and collector street plan, which is a function that this body, it's part of Nashville Next, and it is under your purview. And so I think what you see here kind of delineates what those reviews are. We think that the street grid is generally reasonable and generally, correct in terms of creating parcels and where those public spaces are going to be. But the major and collector street plan will really define in further detail the uses, program for that, et cetera. And then that framework plan will make sure that from a design perspective, they're well integrated into the public spaces and the like, if that makes sense. So this is a big effort. And so at the zoning phase, in my mind, you've got some certainty about concepts, but it can be refined as we do more inquiry, and it should be, and all of those are public processes. And so people are going to have an opportunity to have input. Joni, did I capture that? Do you have any refinements to that? Does that make sense?
I think so. So from the perspective of the concerns that were raised, that those would be the next phase? Yeah. Is that right? In terms of, but we're committing to it in the conditions, that this is something that's going to guide?
Yeah, I mean, the Major and Collector Street Plan has been a document that this commission has stewarded for many years, well before me, through Nashville Next, and it applies countywide, and it sets those standards that we follow in development. And so, yeah, I mean, this is a typical that we would update the MCSP. It happens periodically. The public realm design will respond to that. So it doesn't define in and of itself a street section. And I apologize for any confusion around that. It is meant to take what the MCSP determines and make sure that it's well-designed and that we really have a thoughtful public realm here. I think someone said it really well. This isn't exactly a bottom-up neighborhood, but it's close to it. I think Councilman Captain and I agree. And so we want to get it right. We want the streets to be well-behaved. And that takes a lot of work beyond just the zoning to get the streets to be well-behaved. And we're looking forward to working with these entities and making sure that they do meet Vision Zero principles. Absolutely.
Okay. So I think that makes sense. And I think, I think that the planning that was done for the initial development area was it seemed very focused, and it seems thorough in terms of thinking all of this through, how multimodal transit can work together and we'll have safe streets. Obviously that's different because it is under a lot of that is under the purview of Metro right now, while this is a privately funded, initiative project, huge project, and they'll be covering all of the infrastructure. But hopefully those same principles that I think that have really been trying to guide our work in the East Bank can be applied and, honored in looking at the East Bend area as well, while recognizing it's still a privately funded project. So I think I feel good about where it's going.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any discussion? Any other discussion? Councilman, do you want to go first? Councilman.
Thank you, Chair. I agree with everything the Vice Chair just said with regard to major and collector street plans and the public realm design framework. I think if we're building something from the ground up here, I think it's important we get it right from the first time, especially when we're dealing with the legacy of a lot of bad street designs across the city. And if we're building something from scratch, we can get it right from the beginning this time. So excited to see that as we coordinate with these different departments and agencies that we're prioritizing Vision Zero, and I hope as well our multimodal hierarchy to prioritize walking, biking, and public transit over single passenger vehicles, and want to be sure that we're not building an auto-centric neighborhood here with unsafe street designs or too many lanes or anything like that. I did have one question on the uses here. I note that animal hospitals are prohibited here as they are on the rest of the downtown code. But I note that we allow veterinarians as well as animal boarding facilities. I was wondering if staff might be able to provide some insight on why animal hospitals uniquely would not be permitted here.
Yes, I think I can see Lisa clicking to pull up the zoning code so she can share those specific definitions with you. I would maybe just for a little color, the way the downtown code orients use prohibitions, restrictions, and allowances is not related to individual districts, but rather to areas. So north, central, west, and south. And so the uses listed for the East Bend are the same as the East Bank. So that was a pull over from East Bank. But I'm assuming that Lisa will be able to give you some definition or understanding of the differences of those types of uses.
Thank you.
Apologies. I'm scrolling. Just a second. I think that to some degree that is a bit reflective of other areas in the code where animal hospital is generally allowed in more intense zoning districts, such as industrial. So not allowed in some of our like mixed use neighborhood for instance. So animal hospital is, defined as an enterprise for the care and treatment of the diseases and injuries of animals and where animals may be boarded during their treatment and convalescence. Boarding is similarly defined as temporary boarding care or grooming, but specifically does not include animal hospitals. And then veterinarian is in a less intense version. As to why that decision was made with the downtown code as it was originally drafted, I'm not sure that I could answer that. We might have to do some research, but that was a decision that was made with the original iteration of the downtown code that has been carried throughout the subdistricts.
Thank you for that explanation. I don't have a strong opinion that animal hospitals should be permitted here, but just thinking as somebody that loves their dog very much, if there's if there's an accident or something and you have to go to the hospital with your dog, you probably don't want to fight traffic going across to a different part of the city to do it, but probably want that close to home, especially for all these new residents we'll be welcoming to East Bend. I don't know if veterinary hospital is an appropriate use here. I think I wouldn't want to foreclose the possibility in council of us allowing veterinary hospitals there. So I would welcome the rest of the commission's thoughts on this, but my thought might be to leave the door open to animal hospitals here and allow council to make that decision subsequently without needing to make the bill disapproved.
So there may be a process question of that, and if there was a desire to look at the allowance of animal hospitals sort of across all of DTC, that may need to be a separate action. For one reason, there is a unique requirement for the DTC where if an amendment has the effect of a rezoning, then it requires noticing to be done. And so if you're adding a use, then that would have the effect of increasing entitlements. And so then it would require noticing as though a zoning was changed. And we haven't done that for this text amendment because it didn't have the effect of rezoning anything because it's not applied to any property yet. And so if we decide to do that, it would apply to the areas within the IDA. And so we would need to look at the process. Does that make sense?
Okay. Even if it was just this new use area?
Well, so there's only one use area for all of East.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And so the IDA and we just looped this into the same use area that the IDA is already in. And so there's only one, I think Joni said there's 16 sub-districts, but there's only 5 use districts. Mm-hmm. And so because it would apply to that property, then we would have to think about the process, and that's the only hesitancy.
Understood. I mean, we could leave the door open here, and if it turns out to be a procedural hurdle, the council could not do it. Is that right? We don't have to decide here and now?
And Councilman, I think you bring up a really good point if there's not a distinction, but I think we could, if there's not an objection from other commission members, and then if there is a process issue, we can bring it back and fix it. Because it is a good question. Maybe it deals with larger livestock or something, who knows? We'll probably have to research it. But I think it's a good question, for sure. Anything else, Councilman?
That was it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Commissioner Henley.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not sure how to follow that one. That was a good one, council member. A few things, I think. First, I want to thank the gentleman who came up and spoke earlier. I think they've departed, but also the council members serving on the subcommittee. I appreciate their comments. I think it's extremely important for the effort and the immense amount of effort that's going into this to be considerate of all those perspectives. I would echo everything that they brought forward. I think it's great to see that in our conditions, a lot of those things I think have a way to be addressed and definitely are highlighted. I think it's maybe the most acronyms I've seen in conditions before. So it's kind of also fun to see all those four-letter acronyms. But I want to thank staff. I think we had a great discussion when this came before us previously. A lot of items were brought up. I was responsible for a lot of those, but I think those were well addressed, well presented, both in the staff report and in some of the exchanges that have happened between the meetings. So I just wanted to make sure that I highlighted that. And obviously, just as a native Nashvilleian, I think there's a lot of ways to make this better, and incremental improvement is something we should do. But it is really good to know that the scrap metal yard has a future that's not what it is today. And so just want to thank the team that's working on that, the immense amount of effort that's gone into getting us here. It's great to see the partnership between the private sector and the public sector come together. And we're just talking about how good can it get, not just it should be something else, which has been all my life. So it's really just, I just wanted to express that, and I think it's a moment of gratitude for the city, and some really exciting things are ahead.
Thank you, Commissioner, and thank you. I do want to thank the commissioners for, Commissioner Dundon, go ahead.
Sorry, I just had one question for clarification, and that's on the parcel that's, has an entitlement to 24 stories on the, very close to the river, on the river. Can you just clarify how, I guess I'm concerned about a 40-story building on that particular parcel. It's right on the river, it's really close to downtown. I mean, it's right to the heart of it's close to the heart of downtown, so pretty much wherever you are there, you're gonna see this 40-story building right on the river. So can you just talk a little bit about, is it the Downtown Code Design Review, will they have the discretion on whether it's between 24 and 40? Will we see that again? Who ultimately is gonna decide, which bodies or, body will decide on that?
Yes, I appreciate those questions and happy to clarify. So what's before you today is to enable a process, to create a process by which this site and only this site would be entitled to 24 stories by right, but greater heights could be considered through a process called River Gateway. That process that you would be enabling would be a function of the Downtown Code Design Review Committee with appeals to this body if necessary. Any decision made by the Downtown Code Design Review Committee actually could be appealed to you all. That's how that's established. However, the criteria for that is something we're going to bring back to you. That will be a plan, some kind of policy amendment. We're still figuring out exactly where it should land. That would address riverfront sort of signature, highly visible sites like this that may be along bridges, may not be along bridges, and may be outside of this area, maybe further up on the East Bank or other places. So we want to give some careful scrutiny to that, some careful language to that this body would adopt those policies to use in the future on rezoning requests, but it would also be adopting that language that the Downtown Code Design Review Committee would use to look at this site in particular.
And Joni, it might help also, we had similar questions and really stress tested the site. We did some visual modeling at various heights. And Joni, if you want to just mention some of the observations, we looked opposite KVB and we looked opposite the river as well to sort of try to understand what outcome we might want, if you want to talk a little bit about that as well.
Sure, I'd be happy to. So we modeled the proposal that was before you previously, which was a little bit different. And we looked at, I think the closest nearby tall building is the new Peabody Union, which is directly across the river. And for your frame of reference, it sits, I think, about 70 feet higher on the bluff. And it is 27 stories today. So it's a building that you can have kind of as a frame of mind for comparison to this. So 70 feet higher and 27 stories. We also looked at the comparison of the heights across KVB, and I know that was a question previously. The heights, this site sits directly across KVB from a public park. There is no entitled building height across KVB, so that increases its visibility. And then the heights as you move east on KVB are where you see the 40 here, directly across KVB is entitled to 20, and then they match as you move east on both sides of KVB.
But ultimately, it's visible whatever the height. And it's interesting, you look at the city and there are some buildings that I would say, I have felt haven't had favorable outcomes that are actually quite low. And so it's sort of an interesting lesson. Urban design quality can be read a few different ways. And I think given how wide KVB is, we do want, I would say, it's worthy of debate and discussion certainly, but I would want a building of some presence. We just want to make sure that the design excellence criteria that is established in the code is really pursued to make sure that it lives up to the site's visibility. Actually, imagine East Bank had a concept of taller structures at major bridges because it's a unique character-defining opportunity, has to be executed well. And it's very hard to do that in a entitlement discussion, right? Because again, as we've discussed, entitlements are sort of blunt instruments. But the downtown code is one that is flexible enough that we can craft an approach that can work and protect our interests as well as, future property owners.
So are we locking in this on a parcel basis that's with these numbers, these stories on there? Because, is there an opportunity to transfer some of these? Like if you end up saying the design for that 24 can only go to 34, but we want to give this developer room to go up to 70 or 60 on another parcel, is that foreclosed on this vote or is that still on the table?
Sure, I'm happy to walk you through the graphic in front of you. So this site would be entitled to 24 stories with that consideration for up to 40 through the additional design review process. The numbers that you see here in yellow are maximum entitlements. In the orange, which was kind of called East Bend Core, any one of those blocks may have one tower that goes up to 50. But this whole subdistrict is not allowed to use the Downtown Code's bonus height program. And so every number you see here represents an absolute maximum.
Okay, I think that's helpful. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other discussion? Vice Chair.
Just because we're recovering from an ice storm 2 weeks ago, I know we talked about it with the East Bank area about undergrounding utilities. And as we talk about this being from the ground up, is that something that we are pursuing for this area?
I think it would be great to invite the EBDA team to come because there is a holistic discussion happening. Sorry, I shouldn't use the acronym. The East Bank Development Authority is now established. Don't let me bureau bone like that, Chairman. And I think it'd be great to have an informational presentation from them because the discussion extends beyond just this site. And so may I suggest inviting them to do a short presentation to you so we can have that discussion. But yes, they're working on that.
I think that would be, given what we have just seen and the fact that this is a very rare opportunity, I would strongly encourage us to push hard on that.
Very good point. Any other discussion? Seeing none, before we move on, I do want to echo Commissioner Henley's thoughts and comments. I want to thank the development team, the owners, the state, the city, the planning department, the staff. I think there was a lot of thoughtfulness going into this, and like everyone said, when you're building almost from ground up, it's a really unique opportunity, and I think this is something that is really, really important to the city to get right, as many of the council members said. Thank you for coming, and I really, really appreciate the council for working on this and all their hard work and thoughtfulness and deliberation. So I do want to just say thank you. I don't think that a lot of folks understand how much people work went into this and from a lot of different agencies, and that can be very, very difficult, and a lot of different governmental bodies. And so I want to just thank the entire team for working on that, and a lot of folks that have put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this project. So thanks everyone, and know that it means a lot from the bottom of my heart and the commission's heart. We know. I mean, we've been working on this, gosh, pre-COVID. So way before COVID. So it's a big deal. And Joni, thank you very much, and the team. It really means a lot. So with that said, is there a motion? We'll need a motion.
Is Councilman Horton offering, I just want to make sure I understand the amendment that I think where we landed, we're going to remove the planning commissions. In the recommendation, we're recommending that we remove the prohibition on the animal hospitals. And if council is advised or determines that there's a procedural issue, then
We just not utilize.
we won't utilize that. Is that?
And we can consider it in a separate.
And Hannah, are you okay with it? Because the planning commission is an advisory body to council, so we're providing advice that we're okay with that.
Just trying to,
Is that-
yeah, I was just trying to think about how to formulate this. So, like, move for approval with conditions, with the added condition that animal hospitals be permitted in the east use area. Is that? Got it.
That's a proper motion, and we'll just add the caveat to that, is that if there's procedural issues, we can consider separate. Okay, that's a proper motion. Is there a second? Second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it, and it's adopted. Great job, everyone. All right, item 4.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Harriet Brooks, and I'm here before you with the case related to the previous DTC amendment. This is a request by property owners to rezone the previous PSC property, approximately 41 acres, from industrial to DTC to align with the downtown neighborhood and Imagine East Bank policy. Staff's recommendation is to approve with conditions. The existing zoning, industrial general, is intended for a wide range of intensive manufacturing uses and aligns with the historic uses on the site, including lumberyard, metal recycling facility, auto parking, vacant industrial land, and office. However, with recent development on the East Bank and the adoption of the Imagine East Bank supplemental policy in 2022, this zoning is no longer compatible with the community's intended vision for its future as a mixed-use urban neighborhood. The proposed zoning is Downtown Code, or DTC. The DTC is a form-based zoning code that shapes growth and development in downtown Nashville. Downtown Code is intended for a broad range of residential and non-residential activities associated with an economically healthy, socially vibrant, and sustainable downtown. It is administered by staff. The DTC Design Review Committee reviews all projects for design quality and compliance. The policy for this area is mostly T6 downtown neighborhood with conservation in the portions of the site within the 100-year floodplain. T6 downtown neighborhood is intended to maintain and create downtown neighborhoods with diverse development characteristics, including high-density residential. This policy fosters appropriate transition from less intense areas in the downtown core to, This policy fosters appropriate transitions from less intense areas of T6 downtown neighborhoods to the more intense T6 downtown core policy. Neighborhoods with this policy have high levels of connectivity and complete street networks with sidewalks, bicycles, and transit. This area was also part of the Imagine East Bank supplemental policy adopted in 2022. The Imagine East Bank Vision Plan outlines the vision for the East Bank's emergence as a new neighborhood with well-designed public places and coordinated public and private development. The subdistrict, named Shelby's Bend in the vision plan, emphasizes development that respects and fits within its context, recentering the river and bolstering resiliency, and ensuring safe and simple connectivity in an activated public realm. Rezoning of this site aligns with the T6 downtown policy, which intends to create diverse downtown neighborhoods with high-density residential and mixed-use development. Rezoning to DTC will align with this policy by creating more opportunities for a diversity of land uses, housing choices, particularly high-density residential, and better connectivity throughout this subdistrict and to nearby lower-density residential neighborhoods. Staff's recommendation is to approve with conditions.
Thank you. And so, Commissioners, we'll open this item for public hearing, and we are the applicant? No. Excuse me. Is the applicant in the room? Come on up.
We were the applicant
We are
in the
not the
previous
applicant.
case.
Yes, sorry.
Now they come.
Sorry, Mr. Sloan. He's like rookie here. And as you know, Mr. Sloan, you have 8 minutes and can save 2 minutes of the 8 for rebuttal. Welcome.
Got it. Thanks. Doug Sloan, 6354 Torrington Road. I don't really have anything else to say. I certainly appreciate y'all's consideration tonight, and we've heard the comments. I will say quickly, we have a lot of the same concerns the folks that came up here and talked to you tonight have. That's why we have gone through other steps to try and separate pedestrians from vehicular traffic, including raising the boulevard. That wasn't something that we were required to do, but as we looked at this, how we were programming this area, and we felt like a lot of the people who live in East Nashville and a lot of people who are going to be at the stadium and in those locations, we're probably going to follow the promenade that we're dedicating from KVB and 2nd down to the park and the Riverwalk. And since we felt like that was where the largest amount of pedestrians were going to go, if we raised the boulevard at that location, we could completely avoid that conflict between the pedestrians and the vehicular traffic. We also looked at the bike network that was prescribed, or not prescribed, is recommended in the Imagine East Bank Vision Plan, and felt that there was another connection that needed to be made at Crutcher because, again, we felt like the folks from East Nashville, as they came down South 5th, wouldn't go all the way down to Davidson to enter the district, that they would probably stop at Crutcher. And so even though that wasn't shown in the Imagine East Bank Vision Plan, we felt like that was another thing that needed to be added. And so we have the same goals as the folks that we talked to earlier, and we look forward to having an opportunity to work with them on amendments to the Major and Collector Street Plan as we go forward. So with that, I would like to reserve the rest of my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sloan, and you have 2 minutes for rebuttal. Anyone wishing to speak? Anyone else? Come on up. And you'll have 2 minutes and state your name, and we appreciate you coming down.
So good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for this time. My name is Mark Reddit. I am the facility manager for Citgo Petroleum. That's the big white tanks there in your slide. Citgo currently owns and operates that terminal. It's located at 720 South 2nd Street on the east bank of the Cumberland River. And we have proudly supplied Middle Tennessee and Nashville, these markets, with petroleum since the 1940s. As the local rep for Citgo, I'm not here to oppose the East of Bank development plan. We're with you all the way. What I'm here to do is just merely bring up a couple concerns. Our main concern is rezoning the property near our Nashville terminal to the downtown code. We're concerned that the code may result in development, which in turn may cause issues for our terminal. In particular, Citgo is concerned that the development near our terminal may cause increased traffic congestion. For this reason, we would like to suggest the following. And many of these I've already heard, they're kind of hitting on me anyway, but we want to conduct a comprehensive traffic and safety study to include establish a current traffic and safety benchmarks for the area. Conduct traffic modeling using the data for the study to forecast future conditions and recommend effective traffic management solutions that will ensure the safety of both the community and our terminal operations for this zone. Additionally, as part of any development plan, we would request the following as well. A stoplight be looked at for 2nd Street and Davidson Street. That needs to happen now. There's terrible wrecks just about to happen every day there. Maintain the broad shoulders on 2nd Street. Keep the construction equipment and construction vehicles off of 2nd as much as possible, and ensure our fire department and emergency responders can readily access. But anyway, we've been a long-time partner. We're looking forward to it. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Anyone else wishing to speak? Seeing none, rebuttal? No rebuttal? Okay. And is the councilman still here? Oh, you're good, Councilman? All right, seeing no one else wish to speak, I declare the public hearing closed. Commissioner Smith, it's your turn to go first.
Thank you. I think there's a whole lot to discuss. I think this is what we're looking to do. Big step forward for Nashville and downtown. I do think I read the letter in the comments as well. The Sitco recommendations seem fairly modest, or at the very least worth looking into. So I'd encourage that. I'm not sure exactly how formal to do that, but other than that, I'm excited to vote yes.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other discussion from commissioners? Vice Chair?
Following up on Commissioner Smith, is there something we should do about this potential conflict and use and questions?
Sure. So similar to other sort of straight rezonings, rezoning to DTC, or the way that you think about other rezonings, there are additional steps before any development would actually take place. And so that would be site plan review. And during those site plan reviews is when NDOT, the Nashville Department of Transportation, would be requesting any necessary studies of traffic based on the impact of individual developments. And so those are steps that would be taken and reviewed with individual site developments.
And
So
Vice Chair,
I don't think there's anything that you would necessarily need to condition at this point. It sort of just automatically happens whenever there are individual site development plans.
and we can just put on the record that we would urge NDOT to do a traffic study. All right. Any other discussion? Commissioner Day?
More a quick question. We've had a lot of discussion about height requirements in this exact region. Adding this to the DTC, I think, is great. At what point does the height requirements for this site, would that be considered with the rest of the area?
So this is that area that you all just made the recommendation on the subdistrict. This is now rezoning this to DTC. Oh, sorry.
More specifically, the
things that are absent.
the actual, what's that?
You said the ones that are absent.
The height, like, are there not height requirements on this specific? Or am I misunderstanding?
Right, okay. So the downtown code covers a certain area right now. With the last application that you all reviewed, we added a new subdistrict for the East Bend. And so now this property is proposing to rezone to DTC. And it'll be in that subdistrict, those heights will apply to these properties.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I was.
Yeah.
Good question. Any other discussion? Commissioner Henley?
Yeah, I think we've touched on this a little bit. I think from a technical standpoint, I think it's been addressed. I think more from a collaborative and a philosophical standpoint, I think a lot of the comments we've heard have been on theme. And I think one of the big challenges that the city has in front of it is how to have a lot of players be good neighbors. I think the East Bank Development Authority understands that task very, very intimately. But I think just the things we're hearing from the community here, the businesses that operate there, the owners, and then obviously the community from multiple perspectives. I mean, we're hearing what people are concerned about. I think there's been several conversations about how to maintain access and connectivity to and through the East Bank. That will be an ever-evolving conversation. There'll be challenges that are there. But I think the one good thing is, we have multiple bodies that are thinking about that all the time now. And there should be some lessons learned as things start to happen on the other side of KBB that'll occur here as well. So I want to just kind of echo and beat the drum that I think from the comments that we've heard here is there's a lot of people that are excited to enjoy the future of the East Bank, but I think there are a lot of people that really want to make sure that the East Bank at present is something that still functions for our city. And so just wanted to say that in my own words and again, emphasize the importance there and the collaboration that's needed to do that.
Any other discussion? Commissioner Dundon.
Well, just to the point about Citgo and going off of what Commissioner Henley said, is it appropriate to put in the recommendation to NDOT that they consider this existing use in terms of petroleum products needing to come in and out versus what's going to be built there? Or would it be better just to say, please study this traffic issue? I'm just wondering if we should highlight that particular use, because it is now going to be different than what's around it. And it was there first.
Fuel is an important thing in the city,
Yeah.
for sure.
Do you have any advice, Lisa? I mean, it's a huge site, right? And so it will change over time. It won't all change at once. And so the process is sort of set up to look at impact as the proposal evolves. But having said that, do you have any advice on how we have sort of highlighted a particular issue for a site of this scale?
Sure. I might just suggest that you all could it might not be just a condition of approval, but it might be that you make a ask of NDOT that in scoping any multimodal transportation analyses in the immediate vicinity of Citgo, that they consider existing operations.
Yeah, okay. Can we encourage?
Yeah.
We're not putting it.
Yeah, and we work closely with NDOT as a partner agency, of course, and so if you all make that, we will pass that on to them as plans start coming in.
Thank you. Councilman.
Thank you, Chair. I think, as staff noted earlier, I think this is something that is already baked into our process. I think I'm highly comfortable with our existing controls around not just traffic, but everything else that this affects in NDOT. Representing District 20 in the Metro Council, which includes the nation's no stranger to petroleum facilities in the area. And we do rezonings all of the time in the nations, which NDOT considers the uses of the nearby petroleum facilities as well as every other use that we have. And so highly confident in our existing process and on our department's ability to consider this particular use there. And I don't want to see us unduly burden this or favor petroleum in any way versus other uses. I think
we'll need your microphone on. There we go.
Move that we adopt staff's recommendation to approve with conditions and add a statement encouraging NDOT to consider existing uses when they do their traffic study.
That's a proper motion. Is there a second? Second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Passes, and we are now on to the last item. Let's, before we do 17, let's, is the person who objected to item 17 still here? Is there, let's just make sure, let's let everybody. Is there anyone in the audience in objection to item 17? Well, since traditionally we have put, if they've left the room, we generally would put it back on the consent agenda since it's been on the consent agenda.
Motion to place back on the consent agenda.
That's a proper motion. Put item 17 back on the consent agenda to approve. Is there a second? Second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed, no. Ayes have it. Item 17 is approved on the consent agenda. So that takes us to item 35, Historic. Commissioner Smith.
We had the shortest meeting I've had in my career in January.
Oh, good.
So I have no real update there.
That's very positive.
Lots of people getting with the process.
Good. Executive Committee report, Vice Chair, nothing to report, just watch the calendar, try to be here, right? Anything else, Vice Chair? No? Okay. Director.
Yes.
Recognize.
So you're going to be, if you haven't already, receiving a request for availability for a commission work session. We are hoping to bring to you next steps on the housing work. We've sort of completed a chunk, and we made some commitments to council around things like developing a pattern book, also updating the community character manual and things like that. And I want to make sure that we're getting good guidance from the commission on that process. So please be looking out for dates. I know how busy you are. I'm so grateful for your time, but I'm hoping that we can get this work session scheduled promptly so that we can make sure that we have your support as we move forward. So thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councilman, legislative update.
No updates from the council.
Wow. Thank you, Councilman. I appreciate that. All right, well, seeing no other business?
Chair. Sorry, Chair, just.
Oh, I did. Oh, my gosh.
Well, it's not on the agenda.
Sorry.
So I'm
Yeah,
actually out of
what
order,
happened?
Chair. I apologize. I'm out of order.
Commissioner Henley, you're recognized.
I'll keep it brief. I just want to take a moment to recognize, again, I think I mentioned this prior, the great work Cindy Harrison leading the Greenways and Open Space Division at Parks. But upon her retirement, just taking this platform to make the world aware that there is an open position. And to take a look at Metro website for the Assistant Director position of Greenways and Open Space. It's an important role, important position. Excited for the future that's to come, built on the foundation that was laid in her time there with us. And the Greenways and Open Space Committee actually met this week and are just really excited. A lot of great energy around our greenways, both urban, suburban, and rural. So just wanted to take a moment to highlight that, and that is all, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, and we'll make sure we put parks back on the agenda. I thought we'd sold them all or something. What's happening here?
Sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Seeing no other business, is there a motion to adjourn? We're adjourned.
This has been a service